help but feel that prevention is a bit of a luxury and not just during a crisis. Many of us have changed our behaviour in lockdown. I consumed more coffee and ate more chocolate. So our organisation changed what it does too. We all became a bit more reactive and less preventative during the crisis. This is a vlog about the impact on our outcomes of all this change. The thing is, if you change your behaviour, what we call outputs in our sector, then the results have to change too. You get fitter if you do more exercise, or in my case, you develop a caffeine rash if you drank too much coffee during lockdown. This change has become an obsession for me, with broader changes across our society right now, from more children going into care, the impact on our climate, our use of office space, increases in homelessness, unemployment, poverty, the high street, and closer to home, the difference we make to people's lives. They will change if our organisation does things differently. So when it comes to measuring outcomes, the perfect is almost certainly the enemy of the good. And in a crisis, it must matter less if we don't achieve our outcomes. What commissioner in their right mind is going to haul us over the coals for falling short in 2020? But this isn't a long-term or sustainable strategy. As we look towards 2021, let alone reporting on impact this year, what will we have actually achieved? If you measure it, you treasure it. As a sector, we must do better at robustly measuring the difference we make and not relying on big numbers of people we've helped. At Your Own Place, we've been committed to this from day one. How we achieve our outcomes has evolved over the years, and it is definitely part art as well as part science. Over recent years, we've started to understand the true impact of our values, even though they are all but impossible to measure. How we treat people has an impact on our outcomes because it's about building effective relationships, without which there is no delivery. So now we've changed what we do and how we do it, we have to figure out the difference this makes to the difference we make. I think we generally manage our impact quite well. And just as lockdown hit, we were completing an external review of our managing impact strategy. Like many organisations, we use a range of imperfect tools, flexing the delivery of our impact messages to the different demands of funders, investors and others. Ultimately, measuring homelessness is really hard. It's hard to prove you prevented something from happening that hasn't happened yet. But that doesn't stop us from trying. So what do we do to measure our impact? Tools to collect qualitative as well as quantitative data and information include things like start and end questionnaires, as well as longer term follow-up impact questionnaires, reviews for our mentors and mentees, photos, case studies, films, quotes, testimonials, as well as a project log that we all update monthly to capture the learning and the what worked. We've recently implemented a review cycle. As part of this, we've contracted with an external partner to review our data twice yearly, and already the learning has been huge. It shows us the variance in outcomes between different demographic groups. This allows us to test changes to those variables, just altering one at a time. Managing impact is a bit like unknown unknowns. I quite enjoyed knowing nothing, and now I know a bit, I realise just how much more there is we can do to do better. But we now have to confront doing it all virtually. So will we still be replicating the same outcomes? And if we're doing more digital, is our service still the right one? These are big questions. A couple of years ago, I sat down with the brilliant trainer, our first ever, Jared. Together we analysed all the things we define as core and not core to our delivery. When we talk about core, it relates to building that all-important relationship. This means maximising engagement, retention and attendance whilst adhering to our values. This can be literally anything from shaking hands when people arrive, smiling, having their name on an entry board so they feel expected, playing music, providing cups of tea and decent refreshments that take their food requirements into account. But to do it consistently, it has to be codified and written down. And now we have to do all of this via Zoom. As with everything we do, the perfect is the enemy of the good enough, or even the done. I have a team of perfectionists. They do say surround yourself with people better than you, don't they? But sometimes, and I would argue that now is that time, you just have to wing it a bit. My colleague Simone cared passionately about mentors being trained online, not becoming second-class citizens. So when she emerged from the first online course with tears of relief, we knew we were onto something in replicating not just what we do online, but how we make people feel, because that is what this is all about. We've never abandoned our values of being fun, interactive, innovative, high quality, equality, being restorative. Finding ways of doing this over Zoom does bring out the creative in absolutely everyone in the team. Our solution has been to maintain and adapt as many of the core features of our face-to-face delivery as possible and take them online. Although you can't make someone a cup of tea on Zoom, you can welcome them with the smile, you can invite them to make their own cuppa, and you can ensure that they feel expected and welcome. So what do we do now to collect the data? So we use Google Forms for evaluation, collect data from mentors on their virtual meetings using Wufoo Forms, and we send out start and end questionnaires electronically too. We also have Zoom and email guides to send out, and we offer run-through sessions for Zoom usage and functionality before workshops and training, just to build that confidence up. We've even created a separate Google Drive so that when our volunteers are learning online, they can keep a log that they can refer back to. For now, our commissions remain the same, so do our outcomes. Until we're commissioned to do digital explicitly, there has to be a limit to the amount of resource we can throw at this. There are so many variables in the picture described above, from the delivery itself, the evaluation tools we use, and the digital resilience of the trainees and the mentees, that it's hard to imagine our outcomes not being affected. We know we're still making a positive difference, and with bigger data sets, we will be able to prove this. When I'm in a muddle of what to do next, my go-to question is always, what is the desired outcome? Outcomes underpin absolutely everything, and it's been really important to be honest with commissioners that they just might not be exactly the same. But all of this does raise some pretty fundamental questions for the sector, in terms of regarding digital as another overhead if it is to become business as usual. But will commissioners interested in, say, preventing homelessness pay for this, and when? Beyond cost is the likelihood that it will change the impact we have and our organisations forever. I do hope you'll join me for vlog 5, my final vlog, when I'll be exploring when, how, or even if we return to face-to-face delivery.